So, hello, Azeem. I'm absolutely delighted that you can join us for our podcast. Craig and I are delighted. I have to be honest, I'm not the biggest cricket fan. However, interesting. So I still struggle with this myself. Is it so? I used to watch cricket when it was on terrestrial TV, but then I even though I'm not a big cricket fan, I used to listen to it to help me sleep on the World Service. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think because I do. I mean, it's my because I do follow England, and I mean I'm Yorkshire, but my twin brother is lives in Leeds, so I sort of a keen interest, but I'm not an expert. Is really what I'm trying to say. But obviously, you had an incredible career. So maybe could you maybe start by telling us a bit about your career journey? Because I know it started really, really young in life.
Yeah, look, obviously, a massive cricket lover. Born in Karachi, it's life there. You play on the streets, take ball cricket. As young as I remember, basically coming home from school and just being downstairs playing cricket. Mum would be running around looking for me to get my homework done, to read the Quran, and she won't be able to find me. I'd turn up every day without a miss because I had this massive love for diving on concrete. I'd turn up every day with blood all over my chest.
Hold on. Sorry, what was that? What was concrete?
Yeah. Well, obviously we played on streets, and I enjoyed fielding a lot, so I'd just start diving around and turn up every evening, blood down my chest, full of muck, which was interesting. Yeah, but then we moved to the UK in 2001, and soon moved here, joined the local cricket club. Didn't really understand what professional cricket was, to be honest, just loved playing cricket. And then, went from one trial to another. Didn't really know what I was doing, just going and playing cricket, an extra hour of cricket. And before you know it, I was, it all went quite quickly, and I was part of the Yorkshire age group stuff. Mm-hmm. Which was it was nice. It was cricket was a way of cricket was identity, to be honest, and a way of fitting in to life here in the UK.
And am I right in thinking you were the youngest ever? Was it youngest ever of captain? Was it of, or no? Your time. So when you got the Yorkshire, playing for Yorkshire, I remember reading something about you the youngest ever captain of either of Yorkshire or under-19s or I can't remember what it was.
No, so I was the youngest ever Yorkshire captain, and the first one from Asian background, South Asian background. So that was a massive honour for me, leading a team full of international, at the time, quite a few international stars, and what turned out to be quite a few future international stars. It was incredible, really, to be honest, and something I look back on with a lot of pride. And it's nice to just remember that I did play some cricket as well.
That's amazing. That must be such a big responsibility for someone so young.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I captained from the age of 15s, and it was part of my DNA as a cricketer. So I didn't really see it as a massive fit in terms of responsibility and stuff. I backed myself within in terms of my cricketing knowledge and being able to lead. But I'm a massive believer as a leader. If you create a good environment and make sure you make everyone feel like they're part of the team and part of the decision making, that things go quite smoothly, and that worked quite well for me when I took that role on.
No, I think it's incredible. And then, so how many years in total were you playing cricket then?
Yeah, so I signed my first professional contract at Yorkshire around 2008. I had a spell there from 2008 to 2014. I had a year and a half out of the game, and then went back there in 2016 before finishing in 2018.
And then, so in that time, then, so what role do you think that cricket played in terms of your mental health? Was it a helpful thing for your mental health?
Quite a detriment, to be honest. As I look back, obviously the stuff I've spoken about quite openly, there's discrimination. I mean, I remember as early as 2013, I I was starting to struggle. I was on medication for my mental health. You didn't really know what it was. Couldn't really put a finger on why I was struggling. I remember 2012, I did a breakthrough season, done really well in all formats, got picked for the England Lions, and I had a great game down in Essex. But that evening, I went home crying. And I look back at it, and obviously, like I said, the stuff that I've spoken about quite openly about the discrimination, the racist abuse, that was clearly starting to take its toll on me. And but I wasn't aware what was happening. So I mean, it was a game I love immensely, but and it's given me a lot of good times. But unfortunately, looking back, it's been the stuff outside of the playing of the cricket and the racist abuse, discrimination has taken a massive toll on my mental health, and something I struggle with on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's absolutely awful, because I imagine back when you were a child in Karachi, in the streets of Karachi, it was so good for your mental health in playing the game and a team player and all that. And it's the fact that obviously what you've gone through is just unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, look, sport when it's its best form, is incredibly positive for your mental health, for your social well-being. But sport, the dark side of sport, it's sort of not it's the right way, can have a very, very big detriment to your mental health. And I think I felt both sides of it. Like I said initially, first coming to the UK, it was a good way of actually starting to adjust to life and getting that respect and feeling like you belong in the society. But like I said, as things went on and I went into the professional environment, clearly a lot of things that professional sport as a whole, I think there's a lot of things that around it, when not at its best, can have a very, very negative effect on people's health.
Absolutely. And so thinking now, though, so how do you manage your mental health now? What do you think helps you deal with sort of pressurized times, or when you're feeling overwhelmed or whatever, or just not having a good time?
I struggle. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I've got the answers. I really haven't. I find obviously going out and getting help can be quite costly as well. So I just feel I struggle, right, to be honest. I have ways where sometimes I can manage to get 2-3 days where I can completely try and switch off. It helps. Physically active, get into the gym and stuff, that really helps. But what I've found really difficult since I've spoken out is I've had this fear of being in public places. So I've had this fear of going to the gym, and before you know it, you end up in this spiral, and like I don't feel like I'm physically in a place where I'm happy. So it's just a spiral that I, for the last couple of years, have found it incredibly, incredibly challenging to get out of. I'll go week to week where I try, but then something else happens and it sets me back. So I struggle, but I've got a close family support around me. I've got a few people that I trust with my life, and they've been incredible. They've been, to be honest, they've been absolutely incredible for me the last couple of years. And yeah, it's something I find incredibly challenging on a daily basis.
No, I mean it's just so awful to hear the ongoing struggle that obviously you and so many people, obviously we all obviously manage in some aspects of our mental health, and there's sadly no easy fixes, easy solutions. But you're saying that obviously you do reach out for support, and you are getting help and support, and that's helps you get through the day.
Yeah, look, I mean, I've got citalopram is something that helps me. But then again, it's like a spiral. Again, it helps me, but then I just sometimes feel like, why am I so reliant on medication? But it has been helpful. Obviously, like I said, I try now as much as possible to not keep stuff bottled in. I try as much as possible to share it with people close to me who I trust. But it's even with that, sometimes, that I just feel like as a 31-year-old that I'm having to navigate a lot that is way out of way more than I should be, and I do feel that pressure. But it's like I said, I try myself, and one advice I would have to is try and create a support network around you that you can tap into when you need it.
No, I think it's such a really useful and important advice. We're all being an individual helps nobody. We're all, how we navigate the challenges in life is those around us supporting us, and us obviously works both ways, supporting each other. And you've mentioned already your family, and I know obviously you've experienced grief and lost yourself separately from the issues, obviously the awful issues of racism and discrimination you've touched on, and obviously you've talked a lot about in the past. Do you maybe tell us a bit about that, if that's okay?
Yeah. Look, something, I think my two fears in life have always been sort of, since it's happened, I put losing your own child in that, but one be losing your parents, and then second losing your own child. And so I've gone through one of them in the probably as brutal a manner as you can. 38 and a half weeks, you sort of putting the nursery together, you're getting ready, you're doing all that sort of stuff. Difficult, incredibly. And then obviously to have around that, having a workplace that was challenging in itself. Incredibly challenging, and something that I still probably struggle with. I don't think it ever gets, I don't think you ever sort of get over it. I think you just find ways of dealing with it a little bit better. But yeah, I've got two lovely kids now. I've got a boy and a girl, but you always, like, obviously it's like we've had three kids, and that, it's challenging. Something that will probably, I think, especially obviously see my boy and girl now. I feel like they should have had an elder sibling as well, but look, it wasn't to be, and we massively believe in our religion that whatever Allah decides is for the best. And the one thing that kept me going at the time, and probably the big switch in me as a person as well, was when you have a loss of a child in our religion, that's seen as that the child's going to be waiting for you the day of judgment, and he's going to hold your hand and fight with Allah to take you to heaven. So that was something that sort of helped us get through that process. But no, it was challenging, and it still is, to watch my wife struggle the way she did. Incredibly tough, but something that I actually look back at. In a way, I look back at it, and obviously most brutal manner, but it's changed me as a person. It's made me a lot better person, and that's something I'm proud of, to be honest.
Yeah. No, thanks so much for sharing that. And will have helped other people. It's such an awful thing they've gone through. So we really appreciate that. And as you say, things don't. It'll always do something with you as a person, and because it's obviously changed you. But I think you mentioned obviously that we've already touched on the importance of family, but also the importance of religion. And but more broadly, then obviously, I assume religion helps in terms of your mental health more generally, or does that?
Yeah, look, I don't claim to be a perfect Muslim. I've done things in the past that I regret massively, but especially since the loss of my son, but for the last few years as well, I tried to get closer and closer to my religion, and it helps. My from when I spoke out to being able to sort of, and I get asked the question, how do you do it? How do you do it? And honestly, the one thing I kept repeating to myself was, Allah's with me. No one can do anything to me. While I've got, and I genuinely throughout, and I still do, there's so much gets thrown at me on a daily basis that I feel like Allah's just there over me. With my son, I just feel like that they're protecting me, because it's challenging. It's challenging in a lot of ways, but that sort of belief that there's someone there just protecting you, and faith and religion point of view, it eases a lot of what can happen and what might happen. And it has, and there was so many instances through the 2 years of the sort of fight with Yorkshire, that at every opportunity when they try to cover it up, or try to make me out to be whatever they did, it always actually, not only did it backfire, it created evidence for me to be able to show that actually this is what's been happening, and that's not because of me or anyone else. That's just from Allah.
Yeah, absolutely. And no, because I saw you many times on the TV and elsewhere, obviously over the last couple of years, and I just think incredibly powerful testimony. And sometimes I wondered what was keeping you so strong and how you were so strong throughout it. And so I think what you've done has been incredible and remarkable. But it's only one aspect, as we know from mental health research. The impact of racism and discrimination on people's mental health it's everywhere we look, sadly, and it's something we need to do much more on, is really trying to look at what not only, of course, we have to tackle it, should be zero tolerance, but then do more to support people who are experiencing racism and discrimination. I think we have a long road ahead still. So I think just huge thanks for the ongoing. I know you're continuing to do this, and with the work that you do also for MQ. So maybe then actually, Azeem, maybe if we can chat a bit about, because that links to the sort of the impact of racism and discrimination on your own mental health, but how you're now using that you're an ambassador, obviously, for MQ, and we're delighted that you are. So do you maybe tell us about how you got involved in becoming an ambassador, and sort of what you've been doing with that role?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the nice parts of the 2 years. MQ was the only organisation that actually just got in touch with me and just, Bryony, and just, are you all right? Can we help in any way? And that, it came at a time where I was seriously struggling, to be honest. I was finding the whole thing really challenging. I felt incredibly let down from community organisations that talk about equality, diversity, inclusion, and you see a lot on social media and some high-profile ones, and I felt incredibly let down because not one organisation got in touch with me to see if I was all right. Yet I saw at different stages there was a lot of organisations that were willing to jump on to Yorkshire and help them out. And that hurt. This is one of the things that hurts me the most on a given day, most days. And when I got that, when Bryony got in touch, and I had the Zoom with her and Lee, and it was honestly, on a human level, it was like, oh my God, someone does care that I exist. Mm-hmm. And that was massive for me. I don't think I've even told them as much as like I am today. It made a huge difference to me. And I've got, obviously, moving forward, mental health is something that I've suffered with, and I know the impacts of to my mental health from discrimination, racism, and going through the process that I have. And I want to try. The whole point of me speaking out was to make sure that experience, first and foremost, the experience that I went through no one else goes through. But if there's people out there, and well, there's no if about it, there's people out there struggling, is try and help them and support them. And from a mental health point of view, to get involved with MQ, and then when I got asked to be an ambassador, it was, honestly, it meant the world to me. And hopefully moving forward, we can work together in going deeper into why it affects sort of non-white people more, looking at different cultures.
Yeah.
From a South Asian point of view, is still a taboo subject, and it's trying to get more awareness, trying to get the community to engage into it more, and actually getting into that research and trying to find ways that we can sort of support people more, so that they can try because I think it's the thing that everyone struggles with, but it's just helping them support in a way that so they can manage it in a better way.
Yeah. No, but just reflecting on what you've just said there, Azeem, and I think that, and that's, I'm so pleased that Bryony and Lee and MQ reached out to you, and that, but the importance of in your case, in that you're in the eye of the storm and you're feeling even more isolated, and we know that sort of sense of being isolated, that sense of being trapped, that sense of seeing no options are just so detrimental to your mental health, and so it's something we all should be thinking about. It doesn't matter who we are, that we can support each other, and it is that reaching out, and I think you've also highlighted small things that all of us can do can make one heck of a difference. And just somebody in that right moment, that moment when you needed somebody, because obviously they didn't have to reach out to you, and that they did, and that just meant so much. I think that's just so incredible.
One, they didn't have to reach out. Second, they didn't even know me. And honestly, the timing of it was, and again, I'm a massive believer that was from Allah. And the timing of it, and it really made a difference. And it's the little things that make a big difference. And like, we're fasting right now, Ramadan, and this year I was in an event last night as well, an iftar event. But this year, more people have wished Ramadan Kareem. I was at an event at Man City, and the people were like, "This is the first time it's happened." My colleagues are asking me, am I spelling this right? I want to wish people Ramadan Kareem. And it might be a very small thing for someone wishing it non-Muslim, but to us, this month has been incredible. It's been, for the first time living in this country, it's felt like it's like people are actually interested and care. That it's such a big month for us as Muslims, and they want to support you in any way they can and celebrate it as well. So yeah, it's been really nice.
Some people may not understand what Ramadan is. Do you mind explaining what it is?
Yeah, Ramadan's a holy month. We in this month we fast from sunset to from sunrise to sunset, and we try. It's a month where we try and give more charity, come closer to our religion, try and pray more, be a better person, and it's actually a realization of how lucky we are to have the food and drink that we do, that we have, and it's a month of giving. It's just a month of peace, and something that just brings us closer to our religion, and we absolutely. We put this month as like the top of our sort of calendar, and it's one where we come together as a family, and it's an incredible time for us.
Do you find that a lack of understanding is the reason why racism is so prevalent? Is the lack of understanding between different cultures, different people, is the reason why there are so many perceived differences?
Yeah, look, education and lack of understanding is huge. I can talk about 2 days after DCMS, some of my old anti-Semitic messages that I'd put on Facebook came out, and they hurt me. They hurt me because, one, for 2 years, I've been like, if I was from the Jewish community, they wouldn't have been allowed to do this to me, because the Jewish community stay strong together. Why am I not getting the support from my community? But actually, to see that I clearly said them things, it hurt me. But where did they come from? I didn't even know there was actually why it was offensive. Until I went and met Jewish people. I went to the Jewish Museum, and I continued to do that to try and understand myself why it is that I might have said that. So I think it's because we're not spending enough time in each other's spaces. We are not educating ourselves enough about each other's culture and the positives and the nice bits about each other's cultures, and spending time with and celebrating everyone's sort of faith, religion, and something that means a lot to them, celebrating that with each other. With that comes understanding, and with understanding, you'd hope that sort of the comments or situations that have been happening would happen less. You would think so, but obviously it's hard to sit there and say that for definite. But I genuinely do believe it comes from a lack of understanding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, because I'm just thinking, when you're speaking there, Azeem, about I'm from Northern Ireland, and I know it's different, but that you mentioned this idea of common spaces and contributing to, or not having common spaces, contributing them to the lack of understanding. But that's part of what's happened in Northern Ireland. And as I grew up in this place called Derry Girls, as you may have heard on Channel 4 at the minute, but in Derry. But the point is, that one part of the river, people at one part of the river, side of the river, the River Foyle runs up the middle of Derry, tend to be Catholic, and the people at the other side of the river tend to be Protestant. And I grew up, and I went to a Catholic school, and you didn't mix with Protestants. We just, so whatever knowledge we had was about the other religion was gained not by seeing them regularly, but by what you heard on the news or saw in the papers. And then obviously there's a conflict going on. But I just to reiterate, I know it's different from what you've experienced, obviously completely, but there's that sense of, if we're going to solve any of these issues in society, it's coming together. So we do have an understanding, realize that sense of common humanity. We're all the same. We're all the same. Doesn't matter what your religion, creed, color, whatever it is, we're all the same ultimately. So I think that's a really powerful point that you make, Azeem. So no, thanks again for that. So I'm just thinking, the other thing we were chatting about in advance of what we were hoping to cover with you was trying to think, then going back to the sort of mindset of professional sports people. So I'm just wondering, is there something about the relationship between the mindset of somebody who is going to be excel in their sport professionally, and mental health? So is there some, if you have any reflections on that, and you think about what you've been doing in your career and your own mental health?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one, and I it's something that is open for debate. There's a lot of times you get, especially in a male-dominated sport, you get this, pump your chest out, and it sort of that's supposed to be sort of showing of confidence, showing of mental, like strong mentally. And I disagree with all that. I think because I think that's all bravado, that's masculinity, and it's got a masculinity problem. I don't think that's true. For me, true strong mental toughness, performing under pressure, is actually being in a good balanced space, physically and mentally, to be able to make the correct decision at that one final moment. And for that, I don't think some of the methods that have been used in the past, like grinding someone, physically exhausting them, and I don't agree with that. I think there's a balance to be had, and I actually, the one thing I worry for professional sports people, I know football, they get kids in as young as 8 and 9 now, and the ones that, and it's a very small percentage that get through, great, but the rest suffer as human beings. And I think for me, professional sport bubble needs to realize that everyone that comes in, if kids that are coming into their environment, they're kids. They need to, whether they end up playing for England or playing for Yorkshire or playing local cricket, we want to, when they go out of that environment, we want them to be better humans and in good mental health space to be able to contribute to society in a different manner. But professional sport has this mindset, or has had this mindset for a very long time, of you try and break them, and then if they don't break, they're going to be great. If they break, then just get rid of them. and it's not something I like from a professional sporting environment point of view.
I guess it's. Oh, sorry. I guess it's that whole phrase of pressure builds diamonds, that type of thing. But why do you feel that some of the children that don't make it, why they suffer as like humans afterwards?
Because personally, for professional sporting environments, you've got adults in charge of kids who don't know how to behave around kids. That's a start. You've got there is so much pressure on performance that everything that what a human goes through on a daily basis just gets thrown out of the window. And I think a real lack of solid knowledge and background in mental health support within the environment leads to people just thinking about performance, and that can be quite draining. Look, professional sport's not easy, right? It's difficult. It has its challenges, but I think there's better ways and better practices that can be deployed where I think, me personally, I massively believe it would create success as a team. I think it would create success as individuals, and I think it creates success for the people that don't get to the top. And if it realizes, I think professional sport needs to realize its role within the community and do more within society, as opposed to whenever there's a difficult issue, say, oh, well, it's a societal issue. We can't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, just on that, just struck me as I was watched the King Richard film on a plane there recently with the Williams sisters. But actually, it's something you said about kids being kids, but actually one of the things that Venus and Serena's father do was kept them out of competition. I'm no expert on how to grow a great tennis player, but one of his things I remember in the film was he didn't want them competing too young because he just wanted them to enjoy the tennis and grow and develop as people as well as these machines. So I think there's something about that in terms of how we best develop the people who will then have a life after the sport. And I think that's always really challenging. But actually, in cricket, what is it more broadly? Are there schemes in place for helping cricketers transition beyond when their cricketing career comes to an end?
Look, I mean, the PCA, they do try and provide support for trying to get you ready for after career, but I just don't think it's sufficient enough. But I think the counties or the employers need to take the responsibility and make it as opposed to oh yeah, we do that as well. It needs to be a real priority. And this thing of creating high-performing world-class athletes, for example, right? I don't care what anyone says, and I've been sat in sports psychology stuff. I've sat in different things, or this is how you create a world-class athlete. I think that's just absolutely. I can't use the phrase, but I think it's anyone that sits there and tries to say that they can just create world-class athletes and they know how to do it is actually lying, because there's a lot of factors involved within that development, and you have and every individual is different as well. So there is no set way. So this thing about this is how you create it. But I'm a massive one of letting kids explore and develop their sort of understanding and their knowledge and their own way, but helping them, directing them before they start competing. But that could be different from another individual who might really struggle when they're left open-ended to explore, but they're really well focused mentally when they get into competition. So it's having that. I don't personally, going on a bit of a
no, keep going.
My sort of coaching side of stuff is I'm a massive believer in every individual. You've got to be able to adapt treat in a way, from a sporting point of view, in a way that works for that individual, and that there is no one way fits everyone.
Yeah, but so on that coaching thing, because did I read somewhere you've done your professional coaching qualifications and so on? Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I actually finished my level 4 2-year course, but I didn't do my assessment, so it's not officially finished because it was around the same time as DCMS. My whole reasoning for going into coaching was to use my experiences, and I'm a massive believer. If you're a professional sportsman, it should be the best time of your life.
Yeah,
and that's my philosophy as a leader, as a coach. Is I want to make sure that regardless of where you get to in terms of performance, that you leave that experience the best time of your life, because there's people that would give an arm and a leg to be able to be in your position.
Yeah.
And I massively believe if you do that, if you enjoy it, if you do that and you're in a good space mentally, that you're going to perform to the best of your ability.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, from a coaching point of view, that's the sort of stuff that I believe in.
But is that what you're hoping to do moving forward? Or have you decided?
I'm not sure at this stage. It was one of my two passions within the game after I finished was broadcasting and coaching. So I'm not sure at this stage. Obviously, there's still a lot going on, and I just want to make sure that I have some time for myself as well and just recover, because I'm still struggling, and I just want to make sure. Well, the one thing this is why I'm a bit hesitant in coaching at the minute, is another one of my big beliefs is for me to be able to give the player the best experience, the best sort of development advice, I've got to be in a good space myself.
Yeah.
And if I'm not in a good space, and one of my philosophy is that I want the player to have the best time of their life, no matter how much I try, it won't be natural.
Mm-hmm.
And for that reason, again, it's not something I'll get into until I can make sure that I stick to my philosophies as a coach and be able to provide that for the players.
Yeah. I mean, as somebody who's never been particularly sporty, well, I do play tennis, but I have such admiration for professional sports people and what they've done, and then those who at the end of their careers are able to then give back, and that's in the way you're describing and bringing all that, well, compassion as well as excellence, and it's that sort of compassionate excellence, I think, which we all trying to aspire for. And I suppose, like, I'm a Liverpool fan, football fan, and so I always think Jurgen Klopp does a bit of that in my mind. He does that individual management you touched on, and he treats people as human beings as well as these commodities. And I think that's, anything he does, I think is great. So,
to be honest, I think he's brilliant. I think he's one of the people that I try and look at the things he does, and I think the way he speaks about his players publicly, clearly he has a bond with them. Privately, the way he manages them, I think there's no. It just shows, and that's why I say it doesn't have to be all sort of dictatorship, do it as like this, or this is how you have to do it, pump your chest out stuff. The love and compassion can make a big difference, especially in an environment that's got such a big problem with like masculinity problem and like everyone trying to this bravado, and just when you've got a leader that can cut through that and show you that actually you are all right to be vulnerable, you're all right to be emotional, you're all right to have these feelings. The environment will just, I know I've been at the other side of the player, you're looking at everything that your leader does.
Yeah.
And if it does it where it makes you feel calm, you feel incredibly calm. But if there's a slight bit of fakeness or agitation within your coach, it runs off in the whole environment.
Just thinking now, one of the things we were hoping to also chat about was, given in part, I suppose, in your role, Azeem, as the MQ ambassador, and thinking about, when you now think about mental health research, and so what are your thoughts about, like, what if you had all the money in the world to give to MQ and say, please fund this research or any other mental health charity, Well, hopefully it would be MQ, of course.
Hopefully, yeah.
Hopefully. What would that be? What do you think you would like to see us do, or the mental health community do?
Yeah, I mean, look, the one thing I'd encourage sort of on a government level and the funders and stuff is we need to get mental health research to the same level as the physical health health researches that happen. There's a lot that goes into that. Yet we know that a lot where our mental health is can affect our physical health and them conditions anyway. So I think we really need to level that up massively. Using that word, level up.
I'm the same. I have a reaction to it now when I hear it.
Yeah, I don't know why I use it, but I feel like from a mental health research, it really needs to, from a funding point of view, it needs to come on parallel with the physical health, because as someone that suffers with it, I've been around people and seen other people suffer with it. At times, like the mental health scars that I've got are there's something that I feel like I wish I had an answer to. And then on that, what would be the one thing? I think I think, if I'm not wrong, the studies up to now are predominantly on white people, and I think I'd like the mental health research, and hopefully with my work with MQ, that to be, we need to go into different communities and because it affects people differently, and people of color, and try and do a wider sort of research around that, and how within different communities, how it can be different, the mental health. And that would be something that if we can try and put more resources to, hopefully with good, generous donors, then we can try and get to some sort of, like, it's not a thing that we can fix overnight. We know that. But if we can sort of dig away at it from different angles, and I massively think the mental health angle of dealing with racism will make a big difference within our society.
Yeah, no, I think there's 2 or 3 things that are so important and powerful. And I think the first point you made there about the parity of esteem between mental health and physical health research. A few years ago, MQ did this review, and I can't remember the precise figures, so don't quote me, but it was something like they compared the amount of funding that went into physical health, so for example, heart disease, and compared it per person affected. So for every person who's heart disease, how much goes in to that research compared to the amount of funding that goes into mental health research. Now, I can't remember, as I say, off the top of my head, but it's something like, for every person affected with heart disease, about £2 per person was invested or raised. I can't remember the precise details, but the comparable figure, so it doesn't actually matter when you hear the comparable figure for mental health research was a third of a penny. That's a few years ago, but not that long ago. But that just illustrates we have made some progress, but what my God, we still a long way to go.
A long way to go. I mean, that I shouldn't be surprised, but the difference there has shocked me, because it feels like you hear from a lot of organizations and a lot of people talk about mental health, and to see still that sort of difference doesn't sit right, if I'm being honest. And hopefully we can get that leveled up. Use that word again. We get that sort of on parity with each other, because as I said, we know that our mental health can affect the conditions, the physical conditions we end up finding ourselves in.
Yeah, and I think there's another stat I think MQ also published, in something like, for people affected by cancer, the funding for cancer research is, I think it's £228 or something like that for everybody affected. But again, the comparable figure for mental health is about £9. So I mean, again, these are just heartbreaking statistics, utterly heartbreaking. And then the other point,
it's great. I mean, it's great that, and obviously cancer is a horrible disease, and it's great that it gets the investment that it does. We just need people to realize that we need to get mental health to them sort of levels, and hopefully, we can all try and make an impact in that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no. So I mean, absolutely. I'm not saying I'm not saying don't invest in these other things, but please invest in mental health. Sorry, Craig, you were about to say something there, aren't you?
No, I was going to say, absolutely agree. It has to be equal, because as much as you can be physically healthy, if your mind is not right, then
Can't do anything.
Yeah.
You literally can't do anything. It's scary. It's scary how, if your mind is not right, it's something as pressing an enter on a keyboard becomes a challenge.
Yeah, and it's one health. We only have one. I mean, in many ways, it's an arbitrary distinction between mental health and physical health. It's our health is our health. This holistic view is so important. And I think the other thing just struck me just saying is, so the point on the lack of research, even in treatment research for mental health problems for people of color, is minuscule compared to people who are white. And I think that, so one of the questions, for example, I do work on suicidal behavior, is a lot of the treatments that have been developed, we don't know whether they're effective with people of color, because those studies just haven't been conducted in the same way that they've been conducted with the white population. So I think we are making progress, but we've such a long way to go. I think absolutely. So to my mind, I mean, they're the sort of main sort of things we were hoping to cover. I think before I do I'm going to spring two questions on you. They're just two quick fire questions. But is there anything else you would like to chat to us about, or have we covered everything you'd like to chat about? Or
no, I mean, from my point of view, again, a big thanks to the support that MQ's given me. They're doing some amazing work, and if people listening can get behind it and support it, that'll be incredibly helpful for the work that we do moving forward.
No, thanks. We really genuinely appreciate your support, really do. And so my last two two questions are, so one, and they're ones that people use, but they're just trying to, because we've been talking about really difficult stuff, and I really appreciate how heartfelt and authentic that. I mean, there's really tough issues you've been talking about. So I'm just trying to end in a more sort of optimistic-y type note. So one is, the first question is, anybody living or dead, who would be the top of your list to have dinner with or bring to a dinner party?
Well, I mean, I would have said Rafael Nadal, because of, I mean, I just love the way he went about his stuff. But right now, in the current situation, I think it'd have to be Cristiano Ronaldo, and more than anything else, having been through what he's going through right now on a human level. Obviously, he's incredibly high profile and stuff, but just a show of support, and some of the, I felt like when I spoke to a few people that had gone through the same situation, it helped me a lot. So Cristiano, I would say.
Yeah, no, thanks. And again, I mean, as I said earlier, just you talking about your own experience will have helped so many others who'll listen to this. So no, I really appreciate that. And then my last question then is, reflecting, as we all do, as we're a bit older now, you're 31, so I'm a couple of years older than you. Reflecting on your 31 years thus far, what would you tell your 16-year-old self in terms of advice for your 16-year-old self?
I guess when I was going through the challenges, so I'd just say, like, try and be yourself, and stand up for yourself, and just believe in you. You can be you. If people don't like it, I guess my obsession for just wanting to be the best in the world and play international cricket made me do things that were against my morals and values, and what sort of leave the outcomes a little bit, and be true to myself, and be strong in that environment that I'm in, and stand up for what I believe in earlier.
Not really powerful message, actually. Be yourself and stand up for what you believe in. I think that's a great way to end. So Azeem, on behalf of Craig and I and MQ, thanks so much. Thanks so much for your time and your insights and what you've done in particular over the last 2 years, but not just the last 2 years, of course, your cricketing career more broadly, and your life as we're talking earlier about we're all individuals beyond these labels that people give us. So thank you so much, and I found that really, really inspiring. So thanks a million.
Thank you. No, thanks for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, and thanks everybody for listening. And we'll be back soon.